At 8:43 p.m., June 15, 2024, under a white marquee in Savannah's Forsyth Park, my daughter-in-law lifted the microphone and called me a fat pig. The champagne hadn't settled, and my son, my Marcus, went the color of a linen napkin. Laughter scattered like rice. I stood in my navy dress and pearls and let the word drop at my feet like a heel that snapped mid-waltz. Subscribe to our channel. This helps our work reach more people. I didn't flinch. I pressed my thumb against the silver clasp of my Navy portfolio. Inside, the deal that didn't need a microphone to exist. Magnolia River Holdings, LLC, that's me, would acquire Whitman Tool & Die, that's her father, for $5.45 million. Funds already in escrow are 847-219 at Coastal First Bank. Closing set for Monday 9:01 a.m. Press release queued for 12:09 p.m. The LOI we all signed on June 3rd carried a 30-day no-shop clause in black and white. Paper, not applause, would decide Monday. If stories like this help you breathe, I told the part of me that gets shaky at rooms like this, tap like and subscribe. It tells me to keep going. A prayer and a promise tucked into a habit. Harold Whitman, father of the bride, watched me from the head table, a smile that warmed the room and chilled nothing. Beside him, his wife Caroline barely smiled at all. Caroline counts invoices better than toasts. Folks think Harold built the shine, but I suspect Caroline kept the lights paid. When he and I last spoke alone, March 3rd, 2021, he patted my hand and called me simple folk. That's what men say when they smell a patent payout and hope you'll hand it over to be grown by someone louder. I keep my growing in ledgers. I keep my voice low. Marcus found me near the rail of moss where the music softened. "Mom," he said, raw-voiced, "please don't answer her." "Not here." "I don't answer with volume," I said. "I answer with documents." Across the tent, the DJ cued a string intro. Harold stood, napkin flicked, cufflinks friendly. The rumor for weeks had been a bridge loan or a strategic partner, the kind of story you tell a bank when your covenants pinch after a bad quarter. Storytelling isn't a sin. Lying under a no-shop is. I slid one tab up with my finger. Exhibit B, wire confirmation. Another, Exhibit D, interim covenants. My blue fountain pen, LC, engraved by Marcus for my birthday, rested in the spine. At the edge of the dance floor, my sister-in-law, Denise Carter, squeezed my elbow. "Breathe," she whispered. "You're steady." "I'm steady," I said, and looked toward the head table where Caroline touched Harold's forearm with the flat look of a woman who knows where the bills live. He lifted his glass. A hush rolled out like linen. What happens between now and Monday morning will live on paper, I told myself. Not in a wedding video. If he keeps it clean, we'll close like adults. If he tries to sell a headline during no shop, I'll widen the folder and narrow the options. The MC tapped the mic. "A few words from the father of the bride," he said, pleased with himself. I closed my portfolio with a soft click and let the night lean in. Some speeches sweeten a room. Some set a record. My place card disappeared while I was in the ladies' room. Mrs. Laverne Carter had sat at table 2 all afternoon, between Marcus and an empty chair I believed was mine. When I came back, a cousin I'd never met had parked her purse on my plate like a claim. I didn't argue. I carried my Navy portfolio to a cocktail table near the bar and set it where only my hand could reach. You can't always keep a seat. You can always keep notes. "Water with lemon?" the bartender asked. "Yes, thank you." I signed the slip with my blue pen, LC glinting, and wrote a small line on my phone. June 15th, 9:51 p.m. Place card removed. Moved to cocktail table. Witnesses, D. Carter. Paper doesn't heal a slight, but it keeps truth from blurring. Marcus came to me there, fingers restless. "Mom, I'm asking you for a promise." "Say it," I said. "No microphone, no scenes. Whatever you have, do it Monday." I placed the phone in his palm, screen open to a folder labeled Drafts. Notice Re. No shop sat queued to Hollis and Crane with a note. Send Monday, 7:45 a.m. only. Attach audio to transcript if needed. Another draft. Public Communications Advisory scheduled for 8:05 a.m. Pending counsel. "Drafts," I said. "Not sends." He exhaled a breath that smelled like relief and hard decision. I can defend you to myself if you keep that promise. I will, I said. You defend your wife's night. I'll defend Monday. Thank you, he said. And the words were smaller than the bag he carried, but they were there. From the head table, Harold stood for a toast, and the tense attention leaned toward him like sunflowers. I opened my phone's notes and wrote a contemporaneous entry the way auditors taught me at church finance meetings. 10:34, 11:12 p.m. Father of the bride references strategic partner and hints at agreement in principle during LOI no shop. Video likely exists from stage mic. Obtain vendor contact. Identify staff witness near service hall. Ask for full name Monday. I snapped a photo of the stage with a timestamp and pinned it to the note. Denise drifted to my side. Do we film? We film what he says on stage, I said. We don't chase anyone down corridors. We keep it clean. Caroline's profile was a stone cameo at the head table. She didn't touch her champagne. I filed that away beside other small truths. The LOI date, the escrow number, the press release time. Rooms tell on themselves if you let them talk. The MC lifted the mic. A few words from the father of the bride, he repeated, and the room hushed like a choir waiting for the first note. I closed my hand around the silver clasp of my portfolio and felt the weight of paper more than the weight of pride. Whatever he says, Denise whispered. You've already got Monday. Exactly, I said. Harold cleared his throat and smiled into the lights. Friends, family, tonight is about legacy, he began, voice warm as a commercial. And come Monday, Whitman Tool and Die will announce. I didn't move toward the stage. I opened my notes app and listened like a bookkeeper at a revival. Some words lift a room. Some words lift a pen. I stepped to the tent's edge where the Edison bulbs ran out of bravery and the moss took over. The Navy portfolio rode my hip. Inside, tabs waited like teeth. I could still feel the sting of fat pig. But insults are weather. Paper is climate. March 3, 2021 came back to me with the smell of cutting oil and cologne. Harold's office had photos of him shaking hands with men who loved glossy paper. I'd gone there with a question about setting up scholarships after the patent payout from my late husband's design cleared in February. He patted my hand. Laverne, you're simple folk, not an insult, just grounding. Then he slid a brochure, Whitman Growth Fund, thin as tissue. Let a man who understands scale make it grow. That was the first time he tried to measure me with a ruler that wasn't mine. The next morning, I formed Magnolia River Holdings and put my learning into ledgers. By spring, he stopped asking about the church checks and started catching up with my son, which is how men like Harold audit women without calling it that. Meanwhile, I read articles about debt service coverage ratios and the way a bank smiles until it doesn't. If Q1 stumbles, the lender wants signals. If you don't have a win, you perform one in a speech. Back in Forsyth Park, the rumor mill had worked up a shine. Bridge loan here, strategic partner there. The LOI we all signed on June 3rd said no shop for 30 days. That's not romance, that's a promise. It keeps Monday honest. Denise appeared with 2 waters and the wisdom of women who've seen rooms flip. You okay? I'm not glass, I said. I'm file folders. I sipped, and I'm making an appointment. She arched a brow. I took a cocktail napkin and wrote, neat as a ledger, 11:05, service hall by kitchen. Ask to keep remarks to proper channels. I snapped a photo with a timestamp and slid the napkin into the portfolio. If you don't trust your memory when the music's loud, you rent the camera in your phone. Across the tent, I caught Caroline's profile, still as a carving. She has the look of a woman who has sat in bank offices enough to know their carpet. If Harold was selling strong, it was as much for the bank as for his pride. I could almost hear the whisper behind the toast. Buy me 90 days. Marcus found me again, jaw tight. You promise. I promised, I said. No mic, Monday morning. I tilted the portfolio so he could see the tabs. Exhibit B, wire confirmation. Exhibit D, interim covenants. And a fresh divider labeled vendor contacts. I'll also need the videographer's card. Stage audio only. Clean record. He nodded. a man trying not to shatter into choosing. I squeezed his fingers. "Defend your wife's night," I said. "I'll defend the ledger." The MC tapped the microphone. The room calmed like a tide. Harold stood, napkin flicked. I felt the old bruise of 2021 and the new wisdom of 2024 line up in me like two rails of the same track. If he kept the toast dull, we'd clasp hands at 9 a.m. Monday and sign like adults. If he reached for a headline under no shop, I'd keep my promise to my son and still keep the record I came to make. The music dipped. Harold's smile rose. I slid the portfolio's clasp open with my thumb, just enough to feel paper that remembers. At 11:05, I would be waiting in the service hall. Whether he joined me as a man or as a performance was about to be declared in his own voice. I asked a server for the banquet captain's name, Mariah P., and filed it in my notes. Then I stood where the smell of buttercream turned to bleach and steam. At 11:04 p.m., Harold appeared at the mouth of the service corridor, basking in a fresh round of congratulations. 30 seconds, I said, stepping into the light just enough that Mariah could see us. Private, for your daughter's sake. He weighed the room, the eyes, the staff, the shape of pride. He followed me 2 steps into the hall, where the hum of the ice machine covered anything but shouting. "I'm not here to serve anything tonight," I began, opening the Navy portfolio only wide enough to show the tabs. "I'm here to name 2 lines. First, the LOI we signed June 3rd carries a no shop. Keep your remarks at proper channels Monday. No partner, no agreement in principle. Second, I'm aware of a scheduled internal transfer queued for Monday morning. Cancel it before 10 a.m. and copy counsel. We close clean at 9. His smile pulled thin. "You think you can run a shop because you bought a folder at an office store?" "I run what I put on paper," I said. "It tends to stand up." He leaned in, quieter. "You don't know what covenants feel like when a bank stops smiling. I need the room to believe we're strong." "Then be strong Monday," I said. "Not tonight into a microphone that lives forever." He exhaled through his nose, the sound a man makes when he wants to throw a chair and remembers there are witnesses. "What if I don't accept your tone, Ms. Carter?" "It's not a tone," I said, and turned the portfolio so the silver glint of Exhibit B caught the hall light. "It's funds received. It's escrow. It's a press release ready at noon. I'm not asking for deference. I'm offering discretion." Behind him, Mariah crossed the opening with a tray, glanced at us again, and went on without breaking stride. "Good. A person with a name, a timestamp, and no stake." Harold shifted his cufflinks back into obedience. "You won't send your lawyers at midnight?" "I promised my son I wouldn't touch a mic," I said. "And I promised myself I'd let daylight do the rest. Drafts are ready. Counsel speaks at 7:45 a.m. The way you behave between now and then will either make Monday easy or necessary." He studied my face for the wobble I didn't have. "You always this calm?" "At my age," I said. "I don't shout. I document." He almost smiled, then didn't. "Enjoy the cake, Ms. Carter." He turned toward the tent, shoulders broad with the courage of a man who wants both applause and until morning. I wrote another note in my phone as he walked. 11:07 p.m. Service hall, asked H. To keep remarks to proper channels Monday, flagged scheduled transfer, witness, Mariah P., banquet captain. I saved it and slipped the phone behind Exhibit D. Denise met me halfway back to the lights. "How bad?" "Worse if he loves a microphone more than Monday," I said. The MC lifted the mic again. "A brief word from the father of the bride," he said, and the tent leaned in, all ears and no contracts. If Harold kept to proper channels, the night would end with music and Monday would open with signatures. If he reached for a headline anyway, he'd be stepping not on my toes, but on his own paper trail. Harold lifted the mic like a man who believed the room was his to tune. "Friends, family, tonight is about legacy," he said, the vowels warmed by money and memory. "And come Monday, Whitman Tool and Die will announce a strategic partner who believes in us. A wedding tent will applaud almost anything." The sound rose, bright and obedient. I didn't move toward the stage. I opened my notes app and typed like a bookkeeper at a revival. 10:34 p.m. Reference to strategic partner during no-shop period, LOI 63. Harold smiled wider, riding the noise. We've already reached... He tasted the phrase and decided to swallow it whole. An agreement in principle. Details Monday. There it was. I added, 10:36 p.m. Agreement in principle, stated on mic. Stage audio likely captured. Confirm vendor, pull clip. Beside me, Denise Carter didn't blink as she held her phone level with the lip of her clutch, framing only the man and the mic. Stage only, she whispered. Clean. Across the head table, Caroline's mouth thinned. Not shock, not delight. The look of a woman who knows how a bank officer phrases the word covenants when a quarter went sideways. Harold wasn't just talking to his guests. He was throwing a bouquet at a lender. He raised his glass again. To my daughter, to her husband, and to a future where no one underestimates this family. I wrote one more line. Witness near service hall. Banquet Captain Mariah P. Saw private conversation at 11:07. I snapped a photo of the stage with the timestamp overlay and pinned it to the note. When the DJ punched Motown to reclaim the air, I threaded through chairs to the video rig near an oak tree wrapped in uplights. A man in black jeans and a headset coiled XLR like rope. You the videographer? I asked. Ty Wells, he said, tapping a recorder on the cart. 2 wireless packs, clean stage feed. Want a link after the wedding? I send couples a raw audio pull by default. I'm not the couple, I said, offering a card. I'm Magnolia River. On Monday, my counsel will request a time-stamped clip of the father's toast. Stage feed only. No hallway, no ambient. We keep the record clean. Happy to, he said. Email me. I'll reply from the business domain so your lawyers don't twitch. I filed his card behind vendor contacts and let the party surge past like weather. Marcus's text blinked. Thank you for staying off the mic. Can we go soon? I'll step outside at 11:50, I wrote. No scenes. Monday morning only. I slipped back toward the fringe. Caroline brushed past me on her way to the bridal suite, eyes dry, jaw set. If she had a speech for her husband, it wouldn't need a sound system. I closed the Navy portfolio and placed my palm on the silver clasp. Nothing in that folder required the consent of a crowd. Escrow sat where it sat. The press release slept in a draft box until noon Monday, and the no-shop clause did not care for fairy lights. From the dance floor, a bridesmaid laughed too loudly. A generator coughed and recovered. Denise returned with 2 waters and the face of a woman who knows when a room has tipped but hasn't fallen. Do you need anything else tonight? She asked. Names, cards, timestamps, I said, lifting the portfolio. The rest waits for daylight. We let the music take the night back, at least on the surface. Under it, I could already hear Monday counting. I met Marcus by the catering tent where the grass had given up and the ground was honest. He had the look of a man trying to be both husband and son without dropping either. Mom, he said, if you stay much longer, the evening becomes about you. I know, I said. I promised you no microphone. I'm leaving at 11:50. I'll be reachable in the parking loop. After that, I go home. He searched my face for the wobble he feared. I gave him steadiness. I won't spend your wife's night, I said. I'll spend Monday morning. You'll really wait? He asked. No emails? Drafts only, I said, opening my phone to show him the outbox labeled Hold. Counsel sends at 7:45 a.m. I won't be the person who turned a wedding into a conference call. He nodded, not rejoicing, just choosing the smaller hurt. Thank you, he said, and pulled me in for a hug that smelled like starch and nerves. I love you, I said into his shoulder. Go dance with your wife. I walked the long way around the tent, the Navy portfolio tucked like a second rib. A server bustled past with a cake tier, and I asked her name. Mariah, she said. Banquet captain. I smiled. Thank you, Mariah. Names matter when stories grow legs. Near the oak tree, Ty was breaking down his rig. Email Monday, he said, lifting the recorder. Subject line, stage toast, time-stamped. I'll send the clip and a 1-page attestation. What gear, what source. Perfect, I said. Clean chain beats, loud rumor every time. At 11:48 p.m., I stepped past the string light border into the dark edge of the park. The air cooled. Denise's car waited in the loop with the kind of patience only family can manage. I set the portfolio on the trunk and opened my notes like a field medic laying out gauze. Monday plan, 6:17, 7:30 a.m. Call Eunice Ortega, accounting, for ERP screenshot if any scheduled transfer exists for 10 a.m. payroll sweep. Ask her to email from work address. 7:45 a.m. Mara to send no shop notice plus request to cancel any queued transfers. CC board and escrow. 8:05 a.m. Public comms advisory from council. No characterizations until proper channels. 8:30 a.m. Confirm cancellation if any transfer queued. 9 a.m. Close at Coastal First Bank. Escrow 84729. 12 p.m. Press release. Keep contacts handy. Ty Wells, stage audio. Mariah P., staff witness. Daniel Cho, independent director. Denise leaned against the fender. Want me to drive? I'll follow you out, I said. Then home. I need sleep if I'm going to be polite at a bank in the morning. My phone buzzed with a number I didn't know. 92. A text, not a call. Ms. Carter, this is Eunice from accounting. I can't access the bank at home, but I can see a Monday queue item created tonight. I'll send a screenshot at 7:30 a.m. from my work email. I saved her contact and added a line to the plan. 7:30. Eunice screenshot. I closed the portfolio and slid it into my tote. The park behind us glowed like a story trying to decide what kind it would be when the music stopped. I had already decided. I would not be the loudest voice in the room. I would be the one with the morning. I got home a little after midnight and put the Navy portfolio on the kitchen table, the way some women put flowers. The house had the hush of a place that has watched you carry heavier than paper. I set the coffee maker for 5:45 a.m. and slid my blue pen into the cup by the filters where I keep the things I reach for before I'm fully awake. Sleep came in pieces. Morning broke into errands that looked like normal. Church at 9, a casserole dropped on a neighbor's porch, a list for Monday that I rewrote twice until the verbs stood straight. Sunday is where people forgive themselves for the stories they told on Saturday. It's also where they double down. Around 2:10 p.m., Marcus texted, "We're laying low today. Please don't come by." I typed back, "I won't. Call me if you need me. I love you." 3 dots blinked, then disappeared. Leaving room around your child's marriage is a discipline you feel in your ribs. At 3:22, an alert. Whitman Tool & Die updated its LinkedIn banner. Sunrise over the plant. A caption. Big week ahead. Grateful for our partners and our people. No names, no verbs that would make a lawyer rise from a nap. I took a screenshot and filed it under exhibits. Public wrote 3:22 p.m. Sun, vague partners post during no shop, no direct claim, monitor Monday. Not everything needs a letter. Some things just need a shelf to sit on until morning. Around 5, Caroline called from a number my phone didn't recognize. "Laverne," she said, voice like a window pulled down halfway. "I don't want the week to eat our children." "Neither do I said. "He's under the kind of covenant pressure that makes stubborn men theatrical," she said. "It doesn't excuse anything he said. It explains the glitter on it." "I figured," I said. "Banks like numbers more than speeches." "Do what you must Monday," she said, and then softer. "I did not raise a girl for a headline either." "I kept the microphone out of it," I said. "I intend to keep daylight in it." She let a breath go. "Good. If you need me to say what I saw on Saturday, I will. I'm not taking a side. I'm taking a ledger." "Thank you," I said, writing Caroline willing to attest to Saturday sequence and the time of the call. Women who keep lights paid also keep records. By 7, I'd packed a bag like I was going somewhere important. LOI copy, wire confirmation, interim covenants, a printed index with times and faces, Ty's card clipped to the top, a blank contemporaneous note sheet. I set the portfolio by the door with my keys. The house settled around it like a chaperone. At 9:40, Eunice pinged. "I'll be in at 7:20 a.m. I can pull the ERPQ screenshot by 7:30 and send from my work email. If the transfer was only scheduled last night, we can cancel before the 10 a.m. payroll sweep. I don't sleep well when numbers hide. Me neither, I wrote back. Thank you. Monday is for honest math. The coffee maker clicked as the timer armed itself. I set my alarm for 5:45, wrote light before noise on a sticky note, and stuck it to the portfolio's clasp. Then I turned off the kitchen light and left the room with the feeling you have before a storm you've already sandbagged for. Morning would decide who was loud and who was prepared. When the alarm rang, I was already awake. Monday, June 17th, 6:12 a.m. I was at my table in a robe with a mug that said, "Do the math." The Navy portfolio stood open like a book that knows the next chapter. I drafted a one-page index, times, amounts, sources, and attached it to an email addressed to Daniel Cho, the independent director I trusted to dislike theater. Subject: For your duty of care before 9 a.m., I wrote, "This is not for noise. It is for clocks and payroll." At 7:06, Daniel replied from his phone. Received. Thank you for the clean index. I'm dialing Hollis and Crane for 7:30 a.m. Can you join by phone? Yes, I typed. The kettle clicked off like a period. 7:28 a.m. My line joined a call that sounded like paper being unstacked. Mara came on crisp. "Good morning. We will keep this boring and therefore hard to argue with." Daniel said, "Scope, no shop, LOI 6-3, scheduled transfer report if any, and close readiness." I kept my voice low. "I promised my son I wouldn't do this at a wedding. I am very happy to do this at a desk." 7:36. Email from Eunice hit. A screenshot of the ERPQ, subject queued movement. Operating to Family Trust. It showed created SAT, 10:52 p.m., effective Mondarn 10 Mar a.m., Op X 1847. Trust X 3392. Memo, temporary. She wrote, "I can cancel it internally if authorized. Need directive from CEO or council." Mara, "Thank you, Eunice." Daniel, "With your permission, I'll send our notice and a demand to cancel the queued transfer by 8:30. "Do it," Daniel said, 7:45. Council's letters left under firm letterhead. No midnight drama, just daylight and CCs. BordaWhitmanTool.com, escrowacoastalfirstbank.com. The first addressed no shop and Saturday's agreement in principle statement. The second demanded cancellation of the 10 UAM movement and confirmation in writing. 7:52. Tywells replied to my overnight email from his business domain with a link and a simple attestation. Stage mic audio of the toast, time-stamped 22:34-22:37, file hash included. No hallway recordings. I forwarded it to Mara and Daniel and filed the clip under Exhibits, Stage. 8:07. Council sent a public communications advisory to Whitman's PR. No characterizations of any transaction until proper channels Monday. Polite, cold, and exactly the right temperature. 8:14. My phone rang. Caroline. "He's in the office," she said. "He looks like a man trying to hold in the ocean with his hands. I told him to cancel whatever he queued. If he won't listen to me, he'll listen to letterhead." "Thank you," I said. "I'll measure him by what he signs, not by what he says." Have you been through something similar? Tell us your story in the comments below. We read every comment. It's important for us to know we're not alone. 8:22. Whitman Accounting responded to council. Queued transfer canceled. Screenshot attached. Eunice forwarded me the image with a single line. Now I can breathe. I saved it as ledger. Cancel, Zozo 822, and wrote a note. Not money moved, money planned. Monday made it honest. 8:31. Daniel, board will meet 9:30 for 5 minutes pre-close. Purpose, confirm compliance and keep hands off the mic until noon. I dressed like a woman who signs checks, not loud, not apologetic, and drove to Coastal First Bank with the Navy portfolio buckled in like a child. The lobby smelled like sanitizer and the old power of pens that still matter. 9:00 a.m. was a clock you could set a life by. At the desk, the escrow officer smiled the smile of someone who likes when numbers land where they were told to. "Good morning, Ms. Carter," she said. "We have funds, we have signatures, we are ready to close." I placed my blue pen on the counter and opened the portfolio to the tab marked B. "Let's keep every verb in the present tense," I said. Somewhere across town, A man who loved microphones had to learn the grammar of daylight. 8:34 a.m. Daniel texted a correction. Moving board check-in to 8:50 a.m. Pre-close. 5 minutes. Keep it boring. Good. I prefer clocks that don't trip over each other. At 8:50, my phone sat flat on the kitchen table, speaker on, Navy portfolio open like a metronome. Mara kept it dry. We've issued notice regarding no-shop comments and confirmed cancellation of the queued transfer. No further action if everyone behaves. Daniel, purpose of this call is simple. Confirm compliance and keep all public characterizations off until noon. I said, I promised my son I'd leave microphones to daylight. I intend to keep that promise. 9 a.m. Coastal First Bank. The escrow officer slid the folder to me as if handing over a small lawful storm. Funds verified escrow, your 847219, she said. I placed my blue pen, LC engraved, on the signature line. Paper didn't ask for volume, it asked for ink. I signed. Across the table, Whitman's counsel initialed, jaw tight but professional. The officer stamped, dated, and said the two words I like better than applause. We're closed. My breath left in a way that felt like setting down a bucket you've carried farther than people expected you to. Thank you, I told the officer, because anyone who shepherds numbers for a living deserves thanks. Outside, the morning had that Monday shine banks polish onto sidewalks. I phoned Daniel. Closed. He exhaled over the line. Good. We'll hold a 10:30 transition huddle, 10 minutes only. Operations needs one sentence from you. Payroll is on time. Then save the rest for noon. As I walked to the car, Eunice's email pinged. ERP shows canceled movement cleared from queue, attaching final log. Payroll will run without gaps. Attached. A screenshot stamped 8:22 a.m. I saved it Ledger, cancel 0822, and slid my phone under Exhibit B. If Saturday is weather, Monday is climate. Before pulling out, I texted Marcus. It's done. I kept my word. 3 dots then. Thank you. I'll call later, okay? It wasn't a parade. It was a bridge. Back at my dining table, I lined the portfolio's tabs like teeth. B, wire, LOI, no shop. D, interim covenants. Exhibits. Stage, ties audio. Exhibits. Public, Whitman's LinkedIn banner. Notes, wedding, witness names, times. I printed the one-page index and wrote nines closed across the bottom. It felt like writing a weather report that refused drama on purpose. 10:12 a.m. Ty sent the stage mic clip with a clean attestation. What gear, time span, file hash. No hallway, no ambient, his note read. I forwarded it to Mara and Daniel and filed a hard copy of the attestation behind vendor contacts. I also added a blank, contemporaneous note to the front of the stack for anything that tried to grow legs at 10:30. My phone lit with Caroline. I heard, she said. Not grief, not gloat, just the sound grown women make when facts land. Please say you'll tell the plant payroll is on time. I will, I said, and I'll keep adjectives out of it. Good, she said. He's angry. He's also scared. The bank has long memory. I'll keep him away from microphones. Thank you, I said, and wrote Caroline will keep him off mics on the blank note. I slipped the blue pen along the portfolio's spine and stood to leave for the 10:30. The house caught the light in a way that made the silver clasp blink like a wink. You can spend years learning how to shout. It takes longer to learn how to sign. When I opened the door, the air outside smelled like paper that has decided to stand up. The 10:30 transition huddle wasn't a stage. It was a conference room that remembered too many speeches. Daniel chaired with a worn pen, Mara on speaker, operations in 2 shirt sleeves and a hard hat at the doorway, and HR with a printed memo titled Change of Control, Continuity. I set my Navy portfolio on the table and stood. Titles make people nervous. Sentences calm them. Good morning, I said. 2 things. Payroll is on time and safety gets attention first. No one loses a job today because I signed a piece of paper. If you can run a line, you can keep running it, just with parts ordered before they beg. The foreman in the doorway, Alvarez per his badge, nodded once. His shoulders dropped a 1/4 inch. That's sometimes all a company needs. Mara's voice came through clean. Public statement at 12 p.m. Magnolia River Holdings acquires Whitman Tool and Die. Commitment to safety, continuity, and community. All communications through proper channels. No adjectives that require apologies later. Approved, I said. And one more internal rule, no speeches about Saturday at the plant. If someone wants gossip, give them a part number. A ripple of quiet laughter traveled the table like a permission slip. Daniel slid a thin folder across, draft resolutions executed at closing, board reconstituted, temporary administrative leave for Harold through transition, Daniel as interim chair until we expand the board. We'll communicate privately to Mr. Whitman. No external statements, no system access, HR to handle badge and laptop logistics with dignity. Dignity matters, I said. We're not writing vengeance into policy. We're writing guardrails. HR asked for one sentence they could put in supervisors' mouths on the floor. I gave them 3. On time. Safe first. Keep receipts. The HR lead smiled like people do when they get to carry something that fits a pocket. We broke at 10:42 so operations could go back to moving metal. In the hall, I felt more than heard Harold before I saw him. Footsteps that practiced confidence. He turned the corner with Caroline beside him and Daniel already moving to meet him. Congratulations, Harold said to me, tone neutral like he'd ironed it. I hope you enjoy the romance of vendor calls. I enjoy invoices that add up, I said. We'll keep the floor quiet. He held my eyes for a beat. You could have chosen to be family. I did, I said. I chose payroll. Carolyn touched his sleeve without looking at him. We're going to lunch, she said, and to me, I'll call this afternoon if you need a line on where the bodies are buried. I mean that as books, not people. I appreciate accountants with poetry, I said. A corner of her mouth moved. It might have been a smile if the year had been kinder. Back in the conference room, Daniel pointed at the clock. We'll regather at 11:55 to watch the release hit and to hold phones in case reporters call the wrong desk. I nodded and packed the portfolio. The blue pen clicked home along the spine with a sound small enough to calm a room. On my way to the elevator, I detoured through the shop floor. The air was oil and work. I put a hand on the anxious drill press housing and said, You get your bearing at 2 p.m. Don't make me a liar. Alvarez chuckled. Copy that. By 11:50, I was back at the table, screen open to the press site's back end, the cursor hovering over publish like a bird that knows the wind is right. Marcus's name lit my phone. I let it ring twice and answered. Mom, he said. I told Brianna you kept your promise. I'll send the press link to her when it's live. She won't like it, but she'll respect the time on it. Thank you, I said. Respecting time is how people survive each other. He was quiet a moment. I'm not on anyone's side, he said. I'm on the side that sleeps. So am I said. 11:59. The room breathed in. I placed the blue pen on the table like a paperweight for the air and clicked publish. No confetti, no choir, just the clean click of a link taking its first step into daylight. 12 p.m. The release went live. No trumpets, just the link stepping into daylight like it belonged there. I kept my Navy portfolio open on the conference table and let the room breathe. That's it, Daniel said, checking his inbox. Now we answer only what we must. The first ping wasn't a reporter. It was Alvarez from the floor. Bearing installed on line 3. Chatter gone. Back to rate by 1:55. I wrote it on my index with my blue pen because good news deserves ink. 12:47 p.m. Line 3 steady after 248 part. 20-minute downtime, not 2-day failure. Paper isn't only for sins, it's for proof that competence happened. Caroline texted, He's pacing. I took the keys to the media room. He won't like me for an hour. I'll like you for a year, I replied. Then, if documentation exists that explains Saturday, the board should see it. Not for cruelty, for clarity. She typed, paused, typed again. I can come at 2:30 with a packet. Not to punish him, to stop the theater. I added to my notes, 2:30 p.m., Caroline to bring materials. At 12:58, PR forwarded 3 reporter requests. We sent the same sentence each time. Please refer to our published release. Additional details will be shared through proper channels. Dry is a temperature. It keeps machinery cool. 1:10 p.m. Marcus called. I stepped into the quiet of the copy room where the paper smell felt like kin. "It's out," he said. No accusation, no applause. "It is," I said. "And I kept my promise." "You did." He exhaled. "Brianna read it. She's angry you never apologized." "I'm not proud of what she called me," I said. "But I won't apologize for closing. I will apologize for any way I made her feel exposed on her night, even by just standing still." "That would help," he said. "But she also wants to know if you plan this as a gotcha." "I planned it as a Monday," I said. "Tell her that's the nicest thing I can do for any family. Make sure the numbers don't wobble." He was quiet long enough for the copier to wake and sleep again. "Can you come to dinner Wednesday?" "No speeches, just food." She asked me to ask. "Wednesday is yes," I said. "I'll bring a lemon cake and no briefcase." He laughed, surprised at himself. "Deal, Mom, I love you." "I love you," I said. And when the line closed, I wrote, "Wed." 7 p.m. Dinner. No business on my index like a person carving space in a calendar for healing. 1:42 p.m. Eunice peeked in, a cup of tea in both hands like an offering. "I printed a month-end checklist," she said, "so we can stop surprises from becoming a culture." She set it down, 3 pages, tidy boxes. I felt something in my ribs unlock. "Make yourself interim controller official, Eunice," I said. "We'll post for CFO next week. For now, you and the auditors run the light through the ledger." She nodded, eyes glinting with something that might become rest. 2:18 p.m. Daniel pinged. Boardroom at 2:30. Short session. Agenda. Post-close conduct review and transition guardrails. I gathered the LOI, Exhibit B, the stage audio attestation, and a fresh sheet titled Contemporaneous Notes. Board. The portfolio clicked shut in my hand, not loud, just sure. In the hallway, HR carried a small tray, badge, keys, laptop, wrapped in a clear bag. Dignity looks like plastic done carefully. As I reached the door, my phone buzzed. Caroline at the lobby, envelope under her arm. Not a woman escorting a scandal, but a woman escorting a record. I held the door. She didn't look triumphant. She looked like someone who had slept with worry long enough and was ready to put it in a file. Some stories need raised voices. Ours was going to use paper. 2:30 p.m. The boardroom was glass, steel, and a carafe that couldn't decide if it was sweating. Daniel called us to order. "Purpose is narrow, post-close conduct and guardrails. We're not here to replay a wedding." Mara came in over speaker, crisp as a stapler. "I'm recording minutes. Let's keep nouns solid." Caroline set a cream envelope on the credenza like a quiet verdict. "For the directors," she said. "Not to hurt him. To explain why Saturday had glitter on it." Daniel slit the flap and laid out the contents. A thumb drive, a spiral notebook labeled Home Safe, and printed emails from a personal account. "Mrs. Whitman," he said, "you understand these become part of the record." She nodded once. "I married a man who could build a shop," she said, not looking at Harold because he wasn't in the room. "I did not marry a man who would schedule a sweep out of operating to prove a point to a bank." The thumb drive held a phone video dated May 27th, Harold in their kitchen, practicing the phrase, "agreement in principle," into a wooden spoon, then asking, "Does that sound strong?" He laughed after, nervous, not evil, the laugh of a man rehearsing courage he hadn't earned. The Home Safe notebook showed cash movements that looked like lungs. Small draws marked petty, then replaced later. Not theft, strain, a family borrowing its own breath. Numbers don't excuse words. They explain why a man might try a magic trick on a microphone. The emails were worse for being predictable. Notes to 2 cousins. "Draft me a dummy term sheet I can waive if needed. Back date to May. 1 page. Looks matter." There were no signatures. There were intentions. Mara's voice didn't lift. "Directors, you have no shop since June 3rd, a scheduled transfer queued Saturday night for Monday 10 a.m. And canceled at 8:22 after notice, stage audio of agreement in principle, and now spousal corroboration of intent to manufacture optics. Post-close, the remedy is not drama, it's governance." Daniel looked at me. I didn't crow. I don't crow. I set my blue pen on my contemporaneous notes and wrote the sentence that matters after noon. Guardrails, spectacle. He turned to the table. Motion. Affirm administrative leave for Mr. Whitman through transition, suspend his system access and signing authority, direct independent auditors to review off-book practices reflected in the Home Safe Notebook, prohibit external statements by any director or officer until legal clears them. Second, a director on the screen. Second. All in favor? Hands, real and pixel, went up. No dissents. No appetite for theater in a room full of receipts. Motion carries, Daniel said. He faced Caroline. Thank you for bringing clarity. We will need a short declaration from you describing how you obtained these materials. I'll sign it, she said. And then I'm going home to cook something plain. Today needs plain. Plain feeds people, I said. The door opened. HR slid in the clear bag with badge, keys, laptop, set it gently on the table, and left. Dignity is a series of small choices. Daniel capped the session in 10 minutes exactly. We reconvene Wednesday 4 p.m. with auditor's first look and HR's transition report. Until then, we talk like adults. Short sentences, no adjectives. As we filed out, Caroline touched my sleeve. I'm not your ally, she said, not unkind. I'm the lights paid person. If you keep the lights paid, we won't need to speak loudly again. I can do lights, I said. I've been doing lights my whole life. Back in the hall, I tucked the board notes behind Exhibit D and slid the thumb drive into a labeled sleeve. My phone buzzed. Marcus, Brianna says Wednesday at 7 is fine. She said you can bring lemon cake, but no briefcase. I smiled at the way boundaries can be instructions for hope and wrote no briefcase in ink like a vow. Some afternoons end with applause. Ours ended with a folder that held its shape and a woman going home to cook something plain. That's how you feed a week you intend to survive. I left the Navy portfolio in the trunk on purpose and carried only a lemon-pound cake to my son's door. Wednesday, 7 p.m. The porch light made the hydrangeas look like they'd learned restraint. I had a sticky note on my dashboard in my own neat hand, written with my blue pen before I went inside. No business. Brianna opened first. She'd cut her hair blunt to her collarbone. It made her look like she'd taken one thing back. Come in, she said. Not warm, not frozen. A room temperature kindness I could work with. Marcus kissed my cheek, and I handed him the cake. For the table, I said. Not for discussion. We ate early summer food that didn't need arguments. Chicken, corn, a salad that tried too hard. I complimented the dressing because praise can be a kind of bridge when you've run out of lumber. We made weather small talk until small talk got tired. I owe you something, I said finally to Brianna. Not an apology for closing, an apology for standing still while a room became a test. That stillness felt like judgment to you. It wasn't. It was me keeping a promise to my son and to Monday. I am sorry for how that felt in your skin. She pressed her napkin flat. I called you a name. You called me loud, I said, but I heard afraid. She looked up, surprised I'd let her have fear. He told me, she said, meaning her father, that lenders needed to see a win. He said if he didn't give them momentum, they'd squeeze. And when you stand there so calm, it feels like you're grading me. I grade records, I said, not brides. She let out a breath that had been folded in half. When I was 12, he took me to the plant after hours. He said, look how necessary I am. I learned early that necessary men don't age gracefully. That's a sentence, I said, and meant it. Marcus had the look of a man making room for two truths. Mom, Brianna needs to hear that you won't bring the company into the kitchen. I won't, I said. New house rule. If it doesn't fit on a plate, it doesn't come to dinner. If you want details, I'll meet you at an office, never at a table. Brianna nodded like a person letting a decision sit without poking it. And I'll stop pretending microphones are where families solve fear, she said. I can be very loud. Loud can learn, I said. Quiet can too. We did dishes with the soft clatter of people who don't want to break anything else. When I reached for the sponge, she let me take it. Marcus packed leftovers with the solemnity of a treaty. As I tied my shoes in the hallway, my phone buzzed. Daniel. Auditor's first look today. Home safe notebook reconciles to petty cash draws. DSCR at 1.08 vs. Covenant 1.25 explains pressure. Recommend termination for cause meeting Monday 9 a.m. with counsel present. Keep tone procedural, not punitive. A second message followed from Caroline. If the board needs me Monday, I'll sit in the hall. I won't speak unless asked. I am not a side. I am a lights-paid person. I slipped the phone away and looked at my son and his wife standing in their doorway like the first page of something that might behave if we fed it right. Sunday, I said. Come to church basement for coffee if you can. No speeches, just plates. Brianna glanced at Marcus, then back at me. Bring that lemon glaze, she said. And no briefcase. Deal, I said, and left my promise where the doormat could hold it. Monday, 9 a.m. Again, but this time not a bank. Whitman tool and die, boardroom doors closed, Mara on speaker, Daniel at the head, HR with a folder that could be a pillow or a stone depending on how you set it down. My Navy portfolio sat open to a one-page agenda that read like a grocery list for governance. Cause meeting, access, severance, none, per for cause, property return, non-disparagement reminder, transition escort, media plan, refer to release. Harold came in with a tie that took both hands. Caroline waited in the hall as promised, purse on her lap like a truce. He did not sit until Daniel asked him to. He looked at me, not with the hate people expect from stories like ours, but with the hollow math of a man measuring what he can still keep. Mr. Whitman, Daniel began, the board has reviewed counsel's letters, the no-shop clause, the stage audio, the scheduled transfer you queued and canceled, and materials provided by Mrs. Whitman. We've concluded that your actions constitute willful misconduct under our policy. Today's purpose is to present a termination for cause and ensure a dignified transition. Harold's jaw flexed. You think I stole? No, I said. I think you tried to perform momentum under a bank's stare. The money didn't move. The attempt did. He flinched at the word perform, not because it was wrong, but because it was accurate. Mara's voice came low through the speaker. Documents are in front of you. Termination letter, property return checklist, non-disparagement, and confidentiality provisions that survive your severance status. There is no severance under for cause. Health benefits continue per statute. You may submit a statement for your personnel file if you wish. Harold stared at the signature line like it was a cliff. What happens to my people? He asked finally. They get payroll on time and a plant with bearings that don't beg, I said. I bumped safety and maintenance first. We're posting for CFO now. We'll carry the debt with honesty, not theater. He swallowed. It sounded like an apology couldn't find the door. Line 3 still chatters at high speed if... Already replaced the bearing, I said. 248 over 20 minutes, back to rate by 155. Something behind his eyes gave way, pride or relief, I couldn't tell. He signed. His hand shook once, and then remembered being steady. HR slid the clear bag across, badge, keys, laptop. He placed each item in as if he were laying tools back in a drawer. Daniel stood, not for drama, but for courtesy. Security will walk you to the lobby, he said. If media calls, we refer to the release. Harold looked at me as if there might be a different universe available if we had both been raised by the same winter. You could have kept me in a corner office, he said. I could have kept you on a payroll you endangered, I answered. You built something that fed this town. I intend to keep it fed. He nodded once, a motion that cost him more than noise would have. At the door, Caroline rose. She didn't touch him. She walked beside him like a person who knew how to help someone leave a room without taking the oxygen. When the door clicked shut, Mara spoke. Next steps. HR to finalize notice to staff. Leadership transition complete. Operations normal. Payroll on time. Questions to HR. Auditors continue. PR. No further comment. I added a line to my contemporaneous notes. Harold signed without raised voice. Asked about people first. Noted bearing detail. People deserve sentences that tell the truth about the moment they were the most human they could manage. 11:15 a.m. I walked the shop floor with Alvarez. He showed me a rack where someone had labeled bins, breathing money. We relabeled them parts to order and placed a standing PO with a vendor Caroline had recommended from a life she didn't brag about. We opened a CFO search with a posting that used the word steward on purpose. Back upstairs, I signed a short internal note. On time. Save first. Keep receipts. I left the blue pen on the counter for anyone who needed to borrow courage that looked like ink. When I reached the lobby, the clear bag sat on a side table, empty now, next to a framed photo. Harold in a hard hat at a ground break. I didn't move the photo. History can stay if it learns to be humble. On my way out, my phone buzzed. Marcus, dinner tonight was good. Thank you. Brianna sent you a recipe. She says lemon glaze needs more zest. See you Sunday? I pictured the church basement, the percolator, the folding tables, the envelopes for Leroy Carter scholarships waiting for names. My hand found the portfolio's clasp like a reflex and then let it go. Sunday would be plates again. I'd already had my fill of microphones. 3 Sundays after the closing, I left the Navy portfolio on my hall table on purpose and carried only a lemon-pound cake to the church basement. The percolator hissed. The linoleum remembered every potluck we ever survived. I tucked my blue pen behind my ear out of habit and then took it down again. Today wasn't for signatures. Today was for plates. We were naming 2 Leroy Carter scholarships, small checks that make big doors feel less heavy. I'd written the envelopes last night, slow and neat, because names deserve care. Eunice arrived with her daughter and a smile that had slept. She whispered, "Month end balanced on the first pass," and I wrote balanced on my heart where worry used to live. Daniel slipped in late and poured coffee like a man who'd earned quiet. He nodded toward the sanctuary. "Auditors keep finding dust and no monsters," he said. "We'll keep it that way." Marcus and Brianna came with a bakery box and good manners. She'd cut her hair blunt. It suited her spine. "More zest this time," she said, lifting the lid as if we were exchanging peace offerings instead of cake. I set our pound cake beside hers, 2 yellow moons, and pointed at the new sign I'd taped to the serving table. "If it doesn't fit on a plate, it doesn't belong at this table." She read it, laughed through her nose, and took a stack of napkins like a woman choosing a smaller battle. "Fair rule," she said. "We can keep that one." I didn't ask after Harold. Some questions are not invitations, they are traps. Caroline came on her own later, pressed my hand, and said only, "Lights are still paid." That sentence can hold up a week. After service, the scholarship moment was simple, the best kind. I spoke like a person measuring flour, not thunder. 2 students, I said, will start September with proof that somebody believed them. We don't raise our voices here. We raise standards. The mothers cried in the quiet way, shoulders first. The teenagers looked at the checks like they might be counterfeit hopes and then smiled when they didn't disappear. Back home, the afternoon found its right size. I watered the basil on the porch and took 10 minutes to write a page titled "What the Year Will Hold." Not promises, priorities, bump safety again in Q4, finish the CFO hire with someone who likes the word steward, replace the last 3 bins that used to be labeled breathing money, add a 3rd scholarship if margin behaves. I added Sunday dinners to the list, as if they were a line item, because they are. When the sun slid down, Marcus called from their kitchen. "We made it through a whole weekend without speeches," he said. I could hear dishes and the life they're building behind the clatter. "Thank you for Wednesday," he added. "Brianna said the rule helped." "Rules are just rails," I said. "They don't drive the train." He was quiet a moment. "Mom, I'm proud of you." I looked toward the hall table where the Navy portfolio waited like a quiet partner. "I'm proud of us," I said. "We kept Monday and Monday and Sunday and Sunday." When we hung up, I opened the portfolio only far enough to slide in a single sheet labeled "After." Notes from a season that didn't need fireworks to be true. Payroll on time, bearings ordered before they beg, phones that ring less, people who sleep more. I capped my blue pen and left it beside the coffee maker where I keep the tools for mornings. People ask what I learned. I learned that noise is cheap and documentation is mercy. I learned that a woman can love a son, respect a daughter-in-law, and still hold a line that feeds a factory. I learned that some men rehearse courage into microphones when what they need is a calendar and a ledger. At my age, I don't shout, I document, and then I go where there are plates and I pass them. If this story gave you strength, help us by sharing, liking, and hitting the notification bell. We'd love to hear in the comments which part of the story you liked most. See you tomorrow.